Hey everyone, Dr. Jaime here with the Dr. Jaime Show. You are about to listen to content that has the opportunity to increase your success, happiness, and overall likability. Now that sounds like some serious fun, but before we jump into the content, do me a favor, subscribe to the Dr. Jaime Show. Every subscription, every download, every like, every follow keeps this show bringing on amazing guests for you. And now, off to success, happiness, and likability. Hey everyone, Dr. Jaime here, and today on the Dr. Jaime Show, we have Elena Bensonoff. Trained as a clinical registered pharmacist, Elena is an intuitive energy and wellness practitioner certified by the American Board of Anti-Aging Health Practitioners. She is an award-winning organic skincare and perfume developer and founder of Holistic.com. Elena brings over 20 years of experience in the field of integrative, functional, and energy medicine. She offers comprehensive solutions in building and maintaining health and wellness by exploring revolutionary alternative healing modalities tailored to each client's individual needs. Elena offers a holistic approach to balancing and healing body, mind, and soul as interdependent systems. In addition to in-person consultations and healing sessions, Elena's services include online courses, a YouTube channel, a blog, newsletter, and her Holistic Wisdom book featuring latest research, wellness tips, meditations, breathing exercises, and her unique chakra balancing system. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Elena Bensonoff. Hey, Elena, welcome to the Dr. Jaime Show. So happy to have you today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm really looking forward to sharing my experience and information.
Yeah, I think we're going to have some fun, as the listeners will have an opportunity to learn a little bit about energy and chakras today. But one of the first things that we do on the Dr. Jaime Show when we have a guest is we talk a little bit about something that is unique, bizarre, interesting, that nobody or very, very few people know about you. So dish the gossip to us right now.
I guess one of the things a lot of people probably don't know, who don't know me, is I immigrated to the United States from the former Soviet Union. So I speak Russian as my first language. It's actually the language that I speak at home.
Okay, excellent. Can you say in Russian, the Dr. Jaime Show is awesome?
Well, your name will be the same, right? So your show will be that, right?
Yep.
Okay. So Dr. Jaime's show is, прекрасно.
I love it. That is so great. I love it. So we get people on the show that speak different languages, and I always have them say like Dr. Jaime's number one. So now we've got the Russian version. So this is great. Okay. So now I want people to know a little bit about where they're getting their information from, who they're getting it from. So before you go into your professional story, tell us a little bit about who you are. Are you a mom? Do you have pets? Do you like long walks on the beach? Who are you?
So I'm a mom of 4 kids. Okay. I actually have 3 boys and a girl. So my oldest is 20, my youngest is 13. And always wanted to be a mom. I had all of my kids before the age of 30. I do have 2 dogs. I have a schnoodle and a Maltese. And I do love going to the beach. But most of all, of course, besides my family, I love traveling and exploring different parts of the world and meeting some incredible people.
So we get a lot of people on the show that say that they love to travel. And so the next question to that is, what is your favorite place you've ever traveled?
That's a hard one because I just love traveling. But I just actually a couple of days ago came back from Greece. It was the first time I visited Greece. I was on the island of Mykonos, and I was invited to be a teacher as well as work with people from 15 different countries. So that was really a special experience. Greece is beautiful. So I love the Mediterranean region.
Yeah,
overall.
It's going to be my first time this summer. We're going to the Amalfi Coast. Amalfi, potato. But yeah, it's that Mediterranean sea. It's just so beautiful. Their coastlines are amazing. So I'm interested. That's going to be exciting. Okay, all right. So now holistic health. This is the industry, the field that you're in. How did life lead you to this field?
So it's so interesting. I think just being curious in general has led me to where I am today. And I would say staying open and staying interested in everything that comes our way. So for me, I started off as a consultant clinical pharmacist. And then sort of my life has changed when I went into the field of integrative medicines. I went to study functional, regenerative, anti-aging medicine. And in one of the first courses that I was attending, one of the cardiologists had us get up and practice something at that time I knew nothing about, which is called Qigong. And it's where you harness the energy. And I was really surprised because I was trained in a very linear kind of thinking, right? Here are the symptoms and here's the pill, right, for the symptom. So it kind of opened up my world in thinking in different ways. But something, of course, happened before that. You know, I've dealt with asthma myself, eczema. My children have had severe allergies. So, you know, being a parent, I think, opens you up to questioning things in your life even more, right? And and then, of course, being in that environment of studying preventative integrative medicine opened up my worldview into the world of medicine and health in a whole different kind of gaining a whole different perspective. So it also ignited a light, I would say, within me to pursue the studies of different modalities, right? Energy medicine, healing modalities from around the world. And it sort of like became my passion because I wanted to understand truly the root cause of an illness. And what I was realizing is a lot of the times the lab work, right, that I would receive and review the results for majority of the population that I was dealing with, you know, it was not showing, right, of why people are truly sick. It was giving me numbers and people were taking medications, but people were really not feeling well. And the biggest shocker, of course, was when I worked in the diabetes clinic. Most of the people were on at least 17 medications a day. And that was the biggest shocker.
That is amazing. And, you know, there's got to be, we know so little about the brain, right? I mean, we know a lot, but we really know so little. I mean, we only use, 10% of our brain. So we only know so little. There has to be more than just a pill that can take away diabetes or, you know, issues with the gut. Yes, medicine is important and it plays a role in healing, but that can't be the only thing. Like if someone's on 17 medicines, it's hard for me to believe that there's not something holistic that can be done to eliminate at least 2 of those medicines. So, and a lot of times we're on a pill that gives us side effects, and then we take a pill for the side effects, and then and it just trickles down to 17 different medications. So for people, you know, listeners out there, one thing as we start this and we talk about this, I want you to have a very open mind to some holistic and different type of modalities, especially if you're on a ton of different medications. It doesn't mean pull all of the medications that you're on, but be open to possibly trying something new or holistic because it could pull you off some of these medications and heal you in a different way. Okay.
I mean, the biggest thing that I would say is the number one thing for people to do is really recognize that we have so many beliefs and judgments, right? So it's really about starting with being curious and detoxifying ourselves from judgments and beliefs of how things should be. And also, I would say the biggest realization that happened for me working with people over so many years is giving people the ability to take their power back, because there's such a huge difference between, you know, you mentioned healing, right? Pills don't heal us. So what happens is a person will go to the doctor or a psychiatrist or any kind of healthcare provider and say, these are my symptoms, heal me, right? Or cure me. So there's a very distinct differentiation between the two. And we can kind of address those two things because I think they're very important for people to understand.
Yeah, well, and I like that you said taking control back. And that's important for people to realize. And one thing, Elena, that I notice with my older clients, maybe in their mid to late 50s to mid to late 70s, I not all of them, but a very large majority of them, if the doctor says it, then it's right. And I think it's important to recognize doctors are not God, and you need second opinions and additional opinions, and also to know your own body and what's right. And sometimes going with your gut or researching information on your own, the doctor tells you something, it's not the end all be all.
Exactly. And I want to actually clearly state the difference between cure and healing. So when a person goes to the doctor, to the psychiatrist, to the therapist, to a nutritionist, whoever they're seeking, it's not about curing an illness, right? Because curing is you're giving the power away to your doctor, to your therapist, to the pill, and saying that is what's going to get rid of whatever the issue is. Ultimately, the healing has to take place inside on every level. And every person they're seeking as their support system is just that. It's just a support system and the guide. And responsibility ultimately lies within each person.
Absolutely. Okay, so I want to get into chakras and energy and talk a little bit about that today. So what exactly is energy and what is chakra?
So everything in the universe consists of energy. Energy holds information. This is what actually holds the space between the atom, the smallest particle in the universe, right? Mm-hmm. So 99% is space. And what holds that space is the energy. It's information, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the ways that we perceive it, of course, we can talk about love, right? So love is something we cannot quantify. It's not something we can touch, but we all experience it, right? So that is, you can perceive energy as that.
Okay.
Another way that we perceive energy is, let's say we walk into a space and we get a very distinct feeling, but we can't quite put our finger on it, right?
Yeah.
If a place feels good or bad, right?
Yeah.
But we have this kind of intuitive feeling, right? If you're in a good place or not, if you're about to encounter danger or not, right? Yeah. Or something positive. So the way that we perceive environment is through these energy centers. So think of them as like your antennas that are connected, which chakras are sort of like antennas. They're like doorways that send information in and out. It's like a loop system between your outer and inner world. And it connects to very specific emotions as well as physical organ systems. So there is really no difference between mind, body, and soul. It's just the density of the information and how it enters our system, right? So the more we ignore the information, the louder the messages become and the denser they become in the form of energy, and eventually it becomes a full-blown disease for people.
Interesting.
So, and science actually is able to measure all these things. HeartMath Institute has done a tremendous amount of research in this field of, quantum physics, energy medicine, of our heart intelligence, right? So it's actually, they call it the state of coherence. It's where the brain and the heart, right, and the emotions are in full synchronicity. So it's another way of saying you're in a state of flow, right? When everything sort of unfolds in your life in a kind of domino effect, right? Whether it's positive or negative, but usually it's, of course, most of the time it's positive. So the way that it's measured, the scientists are able to measure it now, is let's say you walk into a room and the way that you're being in your heart, right, your true self, is actually affecting people 50, 300 feet away. So you don't even have to interact or communicate verbally with people, and you're affecting other people, and science is able to measure it in other people's brain waves. Isn't that incredible?
It is so incredible. And I'm listening to you and you're talking about like energy is like antennas. And I'm thinking about like when you walk into a room and you're like, oh my God, there's so much negative energy, like I need to go. That there is, it's weird because maybe no one is doing anything harmful, but you know that it's negative or it's awkward or it's not right. Or when you're surrounding yourself with amazing people, motivational people, you feel very like on fire. And there's just like this energy and this momentum that's so amazing in the room. But that's exactly what it is. And also I'm laughing as you're talking about how when you ignore messages, they get louder. And I'm sure there's listeners out there that are like, I've been putting that on the back burner, but it keeps coming back and it's coming back louder. It's almost like that gut or that intuition that's like, come on, you got to do it. You got to take the leap or you got to go for it. But you're right. The energy and the messages, they don't go away. They just get louder.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to say, just to, I guess, put it in more perspective, what energy is like, right? There's different types of energy, but let's say even what you and I are doing, right? We're communicating. We're not in the same space, right? We're recording the show, you're interviewing me, and there's signals that are meeting somewhere. We can't touch them, we can't see them, right? Yeah, so it's sort of like radio frequencies, we all tune in. So that's another way of looking at it, right? How cell phones work, how radio systems work. And so that's how we can see.
Okay. So now we talked a little bit about energy and chakras. So there's more than one chakra, right? It's like a certain section of our body composed of a certain number of areas. Can you tell us a little bit about how many chakras there are, the colors and what they mean?
So there's actually hundreds of chakras. But usually I like to talk about the main 7 because they correlate more to our existence on this planet. So the first 3 relate to our physical existence on this planet Earth, which are the root, the navel chakra, solar plexus. So we can start with the root. So each one corresponds to a certain color just because frequencies of each one and information is transferred in certain colors, right? Color frequencies. And actually, there was a woman by the name of Dr. Valerie Hunt. So even though this is like ancient wisdom, right, that's existed for thousands of years across different continents, different religious systems or belief systems, right? She was the first one who did the research in this field of energy medicine to be able to detect and quantify the exact, how the emotions and the exact colors and frequencies of each chakras. So that would be an interesting information for people to look up. Dr. Valerie Hunt and her research has been done at UCLA.
Excellent.
So she's sort of like the pioneer in the science field of this. So the root chakra is linked. I mean, there's so many ways to look at it. So the color that you would imagine, of course, is color red. It's connected to earth. It's connected to being in the here and now, right? Being present. It's linked to our bones, to our lower extremities. It's linked to our colon, to ovaries in women, testicles in men. So also it's linked to our tribal belief systems, right? Fears. So a lot of times people that tend to escape the here and now just by overanalyzing things, going in their mind, living in the fear, what they're doing is actually blocking their root chakra, blocking their very existence on this planet and disconnecting from their physical body. So a lot of times people would suffer from lower back pain, right? From polycystic, for example, ovarian syndrome, right? Or IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, or prostate issues. So there's all kinds of things that could be happening.
Okay, and so Elena, what's the second chakra?
So the second chakra is located right below the belly button. It's the navel region. It's linked to our emotions. It's linked to our divine creativity, our inner child, our free spirit. And I actually believe that every person has a divine purpose and also their own divine creative spark. So a lot of times when people block their emotions, right, or not want to deal with their emotions, we tend to store the energy in our liver. So This chakra is also linked to relationships, relationship with ourselves, relationship with, of course, people in our lives, relationship on a sexual level, but also with our finances. So this is where people tend to have addictive patterns because they tend to block their emotions, right? So if this chakra is blocked, people tend to have obsessive or addictive tendencies, such as, right, numbing their emotions. So it could be drinking alcohol every day, which a lot of people do. There's a pattern that I've noticed over the years of that, a lot of times people will say, I'm just having a glass of wine at 5:00 in the evening every day. Well, if you dig deeper, it's really not just a glass of wine. It's actually half a bottle to a bottle. Mm-hmm. And this happens on a daily basis for people, or any kind of recreational drugs that people use, whether it's smoking or taking prescription pills to numb, right? To numb the effects. So people, a person doesn't deal with their emotions, doesn't want to feel. So I would say that if you're dealing with this and you're able to recognize it or have awareness about your patterns, that is such a gift, because you can truly create a shift by facing your emotions and opening up to your divine creative spark that exists within you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you have to be able to be open and honest with yourself and really take time to gain self-awareness, because we do, cover things up. Oh, gee, it's just a glass of wine. And you might even believe that, but you really got to be honest with yourself and you have to want to get better. And I think that's where it starts initially.
And also recognizing that there is nothing wrong, right, with feeling sad, with feeling angry. It's more about when you allow it to consume you and you store it in your system, and then it's affecting you, right? Mm-hmm. So it's more facing it, recognizing it, letting it flow through you, and sort of honoring it, right? Because it's emotions and feelings are there for us to sort of experience life.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point. Emotions are there for us to experience them and feel them. It's part of our journey in life. Okay, Elena, what is the third chakra?
The third chakra is our solar plexus, and it's linked to our self-esteem, self-worth, our will. It's sort of something that makes us get up and get the job done. It's also an area where we give ourselves away, as far as giving our power away. So if you're a person that tends to give your power away and say, become a victim, right, versus being in charge of your life, what tends to happen eventually is sort of like you eat yourself from the inside out. And there's patterns, generational patterns, where there's, for example, diabetes, right, across generations. And that is happening. Actually, diabetes is one of the diseases that is on the rise. And it's also an area where people give the power away, let's say, to the food that they're eating, right, to have this addictive kind of relationship with food, or to other people, right, and sort of have the emotional eating disorders. So and that also is linked to pancreas, the organ system, which is pancreas and digestion. So if you're suffering from, let's say, ulcers, right, or heartburn, that is definitely an area to address and look into on a deeper level. So what chakras do for us, it's more of doorways, right, to allow ourselves to look on a deeper level of perhaps our belief systems, right, or our patterns of behavior. How are we not dealing with specific emotions, and how are we giving our power away? And then, of course, there are people that are in their full-blown ego, right? The narcissist.
Yep.
And they're fully operating on this particular chakra, and they're disconnected from the next one, which is the heart center. So, there's never a right or wrong way of looking at things. And I would say that chakras are just another way of being your own investigator into your mind, body, and soul.
So this fourth chakra, the heart chakra, the first three were under physical. Heart is the fourth. What is that? What area is that starting?
So it's located in the thymus gland. It is linked to the heart. It is also the bridge between your physical existence on this planet and your spiritual, your soul, right? Your bigger self. So to me, it's probably one of the most powerful regions that is correlated to our physical body. Because again, we talked just briefly about the heart intelligence, right? Mm-hmm. And when you're truly in your heart, right, you're resonating in such a high vibration because you're resonating at the state of love. You're living and embodying love. And everything else in your life becomes a mirror image of that. So if you can raise your frequency and be in your love, right? But that means not just loving the outside world and loving others, but it's truly embodying and loving yourself. And that includes your physical body. So it's linked to our extremities, heart. So a lot of times people who are disconnected, so there's a lot of times people who give love, right? They love to give, but they don't know how to receive, which is hard, I would say, for a lot of people. So it's also learning to receive. This is part of self-love, right? Loving yourself just like you would love others. And so people who have this chakra block tend to suffer, of course, for women, breast cancer, right? Also, there's a lot of people who have breast implants. And I would say that's a major area to address. It absolutely blocks your heart chakra. It's a lack of self-love. So that's an issue that needs to be addressed. Of course, hypertension, heart disease. Thymus gland is linked to your immune system. So if you tend to get a lot of colds and you're sick a lot, that's the area that needs to be looked into. Asthma, bronchitis, COPD. Let's see, carpal tunnel. So our hands are an extension of our heart, right? So anything that's linked to the issues with hands, fingers. So that is also linked to heart chakra. Actually, for people who do healing work or energy work, we work with our hands, right, in the field. And it is by using our heart intelligence to tune in to the person's field. So you have to sort of become one with the universal love to do this kind of work.
That is amazing. Okay, so I can see why the heart plays such a major role in just our physical being, but also, like you were saying, our soul. It's almost that interconnection between the here and the now, and where we're going to be at some point. And it's very interesting what you said about, breast cancer and breast implants, almost how it blocks that particular chakra. So what is the fifth chakra?
Fifth chakra is correlated to the organ thyroid gland. And it's very interesting that with years of working with people, how many people have thyroid disease, right? Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism. And it's collectively, I would say, because majority of it is women who are affected and whose chakras are blocked in that area. So it's really about voicing your truth. So it's linked to creating boundaries, speaking your truth, speaking your desires. It's actually the chakras through which we take action. So if your second chakra is linked to your divine creative spark, right, the seed that exists within us all, the fifth chakra is how we manifest it in the physical reality by taking actions. Mm-hmm. So the reason I'm seeing so many people are suffering from hypothyroidism, or actually teeth, any kind of teeth disorders, like a lot of people have so many issues with their teeth, is perhaps another way to look at it is, are you really speaking your truth? Are you creating the boundaries, right? Are you standing up for yourself? And also, it's a chakra where people feel they're not heard, right? Mm-hmm. So it's really not just speaking your truth, but the ability to listen without judgment.
And we're going to talk about in a little bit, listeners, how to restabilize our chakras when they're off balance. So just hold tight. You're going to get some of the answers. As she's talking, I'm thinking of all these questions, and I'm sure you are too. We're going to answer them. So what is the sixth chakra?
So the sixth chakra is the brow chakra. It's sort of like your third eye. And it is linked to what's higher intellect. It's your inner knowing, right? It's sort of like the processing center. And what I find that happens with a lot of people who tend to live in their minds, they escape into their mind, overanalyze everything, and it sort of pulls them out of their physical existence. And that happens a lot. Most people live in their obsessive thoughts, right? So it actually ultimately blocks our intuition. So in order to stay open and trust our intuitive guidance, right, we have to constantly remind ourselves to be present in the now and in our body.
Yeah, blocking that intuition can be dangerous because, and research shows that intuition is a real thing. It's not fake. It's a combination of past experiences. Your brain is assessing past experiences with the current situation to generate a feeling of, hey, do it or don't do it, go there or don't go there. So we don't want that blocked because there's a lot, our own body gives us a lot of answers. And then, okay, what is the seventh and final chakra we're going to discuss today?
Yeah, seventh chakra is actually linked to, I would say, your heaven, if you believe in heaven, but overall it's linked to the collective consciousness of all that exists in this universe. So one of the ways to look at it is if you're in your absolute flow. We talked about that synchronistic state, right? The mind, the heart, everything is in flow. It's very easy then to tap into the collective information that exists, right? Not only in this universe, but across the universes, right? And galaxies. And sometimes you see people tapping in and coming up with the same kind of research, right? Across the globe almost at the same time. So like, for example, this is how Albert Einstein was able to come up with his theory of relativity, right? So information already exists. It's really just fine-tuning yourself, right? Like your own frequency into the collective consciousness of all. You can think of it as a library, right? Or it's called the Akashic Records, right? And pulling in the information that you're ready to receive at the frequency that you're vibrating at. So it's connection to everything divine that exists within this universe.
That's a pretty big one. We don't want to mess with that one.
No, but it's amazing, like how many people are blocking that. They're not trusting the universe. They're feeling like, universe is not a friendly place, but it really is. And
it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling to feel connected to something too. That's why, one reason I wouldn't want that particular chakra blocked is I like to feel connected to something bigger. I think it gives me hope. I think it gives me a sense of positivity. So I like that feeling of feeling connected to something bigger.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So people out there are dying. They have a list of questions for you right now after hearing everything that you've said. Okay. So briefly, how can people at home tell if one of their chakras is off? I know you kind of went through the slew of things, but what's like a general gauge for people?
So there's different ways to start looking at it. Of course, one of the ways, which you can go on my website, holistic.com, and take a free online assessment. That's easy. And it will guide you through the steps, let's say, of whatever is blocked or is out of balance. The other way, of course, is by just by being curious, right? So if you're suffering from physical symptoms, backtrack into, which area of the body is it connected to, right? What are my belief systems? And start addressing it from every angle, every perspective, and know that just because you're suffering from it at the moment, it doesn't mean that you need to be suffering from it.
Do people have a root chakra? Like, Jaime, your main chakra is this. Not necessarily that it's off balance, but does each individual person have their own like main chakra?
So I would say there's this whole field, which is very complex based on astrology and chakras. So yeah, based on your zodiac sign, we actually incarnate with some chakras that are guiding our system versus, that are more prominent, dominant, right? But I would say that all of them have to be absolutely open and flowing in order to stay connected. But yes, let's say if you're a Scorpio, you're operating on dominantly, you might have two issues, right? The two chakras, which is your navel area, which is linked to your creativity, your sensuality, sexuality, let's say, obsessiveness. There's patterns of obsessive behaviors, and brow chakra, which is the higher intellect. This is just an example, right? So it's always a fine balance that some people incarnate with, and might have certain lessons that they choose to incarnate and learn from. And yes, chakras are just part of the whole system. So they should never be thought of as something separate, right? Just think of chakras as doorways, really doorways into the connection of it all, which is the mind, body, and soul. And that's all they are. Just the doorways for us to look through and make us be more curious and think on a deeper level.
Okay, excellent. And I'm sitting here thinking I'm Team Virgo. So after this call ends, I need to know which chakra is dominant for me. So,
or just look and see what are your patterns, and take the test and see where are you blocking and locking, lacking.
And where can people go to take your test? What's the website that they can go to?
Holistic.com. WHOLIST.
Excellent. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So how can chakras be restabilized? So let's say that we identified that my heart chakra is off. How do I restabilize it?
So there's so many different tools. Of course, there's certain types of meditations depending on where you're having an issue. So let's say if a person is absolutely disconnected from being present in the now, the last thing I'm going to tell that person to do is to meditate and escape this planet even further, which a lot of people don't realize, right? So a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to sit down, meditate, and escape. So there's, it has to be very specific, very personalized, very kind of guided thing. So for those that have root chakra imbalances or issues with their physical body, they need to meditate and connect more to their body. So it means bring more awareness into feeling their body, relaxing their body, because the body has an incredible ability to show us exactly where and what is happening.
Yes, that is so true, especially if you slow down and you're in tune with your body.
Yes. So of course there's practices like different body movements, different body postures, sound healing, right? There's very specific sounds that people can practice. Diet, right? Very certain things to change in your diet. Of course, there's medications that can block you. So it's also recognizing, what are you taking? What are you doing? And then diving deep into your belief systems, right? So there's so many layers to it, and it's not, 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day, I'm going to do this, and then I don't have to work through it. It's really life. Our purpose on this planet is to get to know ourselves, right? Through experiences and through the messages that we receive through our body, right? And it's really about honoring the body.
Do you think an imbalance in a chakra can hurt our professional success?
Balancing the chakra can hurt.
Yeah, like
I would say that.
Yeah.
Oh,
so if you have an imbalance, okay.
Of course. So let's say you are not voicing your truth, right? You're speaking from your ego. Of course, people are going to feel that because you are in dissonance versus resonance, right? So you're not, imagine turning to a radio station and you can't clearly hear it, but you're hearing a disturbance, right? But you want to tune in, but you can't. So it's the same kind of thing, if you are a space cadet that's always flying around and you're not grounded, people are not going to take you seriously, right? If you're an airhead or if you're disrespectful of other people's feelings and emotions. It also shows that you're disconnected from your self-love, right? If you're judging other people, you're really in your ego.
And the third chakra was the solar plexus, right? Well, I think if you're also in business, if you're giving the power away, that can really hurt you. If you don't know your self-worth, that can hurt you from the ability to move up. So I would have to say too, if you're really struggling with some imbalances in these, you can take a professional hit as well as a personal hit. So just a fun question for the animal lovers out there. Do animals have chakras? They do. There you go, guys. We'll do a whole segment on that in the near future, animal chakras. So just hold tight till next week.
But you know what? Animals, I would say, vibrate on absolute pure love.
And truth. Yeah. Yeah.
And truth. Yes.
Okay. Okay. You and I, when we were talking about having you on the show, you touched on a word called neuroplasticity. What is that, and how does that play a role in all of this?
So there's two new emerging fields. We can touch on both of them. So neuroplasticity has to do with regenerating, your own brain cells, your neurons, right? Forming neurons. A lot of times we were taught that, you stop producing or generating new synapses in our brain as we age. And it actually doesn't have to happen. So just by the mere fact of changing patterns in your life, changing your thought patterns, recognizing your emotions, you're creating a shift, and you're actually creating a new network. You're healing yourself by doing that. And then, of course, the second field is this field of epigenetics. And that's a fascinating field for me as well. It's a field, and actually Dr. Bruce Lipton, I don't know if you've heard of him. I love his work. He's a pioneer in the field of epigenetics. He taught in medical schools for many, many years. And what he looked at is the cells and how the environment affects the cells. So it's sort of like we all have the blueprint, our genetic blueprint, but our genes, we have the ability to turn them on or off, right? So let's say you're suffering in your family, right? Generationally from diabetes. Does it mean that you have to get diabetes? Absolutely not. Does it mean you have to get cancer? Absolutely not. So what affects our genes? What affects our cells, right? And it's the environment. And the environment that the research has shown that affects it is the emotions and feelings and thought patterns. So just by creating a shift in how we're living our life and how we're perceiving our environment, right, will create a shift in the outcome of our gene expression.
That is amazing. And I completely believe in the power of our thoughts. I believe there was a Viktor Frankl quote, something along the lines of, a man can take anything from you, but he can't take your attitude toward a situation. And that you could be in such a rough, terrible situation, but that's the one freedom that can't be taken to you. You can think of this situation in some type of positive light. And I know there's listeners out there that are going through it right now. They might be in crisis mode, but instead of seeing everything that's happening is so negative and awful, even if it is, find a way to reframe it. What are you learning from this? How can this be positive? Maybe, it was funny. I was just doing yesterday in a recording with an astrologer, and he said delays are a part of the process. And that was so powerful to me, because so often we try to speed up delays and pauses in our life. We see them as bad and negative. But maybe if we stop and say, this delay is a part of my journey, it's a part of my process, it's getting me to where I need to be, that's a perfect example of reframing what you could see as negative more positive.
Actually makes me think about a patient that I just had who's been suffering from mental illness. She's been Baker acted. No one understood her. And it's almost like there was a major shift that happened after she came to see me. She no longer saw herself as ill and that something was wrong with her. It was really about, I would say, that there's no such thing as a mystery illness. It's always about embracing and loving the illness that we have, because only by loving what we have, we can really shift our perspective into and really becoming friends with it, because it's there to teach us.
Yeah. It is there to teach us. And at the same time, it's important not to give up the control to the illness. So I've had people that say, well, I can't focus because my ADHD won't let me. Like it's a person that is saying, no, you can't focus today. I'm going to take that away from you. We can't give all the power to our illness. And also sometimes it becomes a crutch or an excuse, or, oh, well, I have this, so I can't do that ever. No, we can find ways around it, hurdle it, take the control back. Okay. So neuroplasticity, all this stuff is so amazing. Just some other questions here that I put on the list that some of our listeners might want to know. We've heard the term leaky gut. What does that mean? And does it tie to any of the chakras?
Yes. And I would say that every person that comes in to see an energy practitioner, they must look for somebody that also understands how the physical body works. Because to me, the future of the medicine is going to be the combination of all of the above, right? The mind, body, and soul. The practitioner has to understand it all. So the body, of course, leaky gut is where we've been exposed to a tremendous amount of stress, and then eating foods that we should not be eating. And then, of course, there's environmental factors. There's so many factors that contribute to it. So the cells literally become leaky, and we tend to react to foods, to environmental factors a lot more. So people suffer from gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, right? Just fatigue, brain fatigue, right? Or brain fog. So I would say that unless the body is addressed, it doesn't matter how much soul work or how much people are working on their chakras, it's not going to work out, because the body truly has not been addressed. And gut is such an important connection to everything, right? So it's actually linked to our brain. I would say that our gut is the other brain. So there's 3 brains in our body. I would say it's the gut, gastrointestinal tract, our heart, and our mind, right? The actual physical brain itself. So it's always important to address all 3. So for example, people who are suffering from depression think that their serotonin is produced in their brain, right? Well, 95% of serotonin is produced in the gut. So if your gut is off balance, you're going to feel sad, you're going to feel numb, you're going to feel depressed. So addressing and cleaning up one's diet is crucial into an overall balance. If you want to address chakras, I would say that would be secondary. So cleaning up the diet is a huge part of it.
Absolutely. I preach this to my clients, Elena, all the time, that if you're eating processed foods, fast foods, taking a lot of antibiotics, that serotonin really struggles to distribute out of your body. It's almost like caught in your gut and can't distribute. So you've got that boost in your mood. And I always say that's why when you go through the McDonald's drive-through and you get, 6 cheeseburgers and supersize the fry with a Coke, that you feel tired and blah afterwards, because you're blocking that serotonin from making you happy and feel upbeat with energy. You bring up depression, and my final 2 questions for you center on depression and anxiety today. For people who are facing lots of depression right now in their life, they're really down. What are the top 2 tips you have for them to begin healing?
Well, there's so many causes, right? First, I would say the gut needs to be addressed, right? Because it could be coming from somewhere else. Looking into patterns, not only within ourselves and our belief systems, but what is happening in our environment, right? What kind of people are we surrounding ourselves with? And how are our thoughts, right? So research, I don't know if you've seen it, the research shows that 65% of people's thoughts are actually negative. So I believe that as soon as one becomes aware of their thoughts and their thought patterns, that is where the change can happen. So that's my cue to that. Of course, there is other things that need to be addressed, because if your gut is off balance, right, the person's not producing perhaps the serotonin, the happy hormone, right, or happy neurotransmitters, and there's things to support that. So seeking the right person to help, right, there's supplements that people can take that can help with rebuilding it. A lot of times people who are on antidepressive medications, they actually tend to deplete their serotonin levels. I see that happening a lot. And then as far as anxiety, I see a lot of people that come with anxiety, and I would say anxiety is actually a gift. It means that there's emotions that have been stuck in your body and that have not been addressed for a very long time. So it's learning, instead of storing them in your system, to kind of face them, right? Whatever, if it's your fear, right? Or certain situations, to face them and allow them to flow through you and out of you, versus keeping them and holding them. And there's breath work, there's meditation, there's all kinds of tools that people can use to help them navigate it out of their system. And actually, I'm going to post, because I did this Facebook Live a couple of years ago, and it was so successful. There's an exercise that I guide people through on using this energetic ball where they can tap into their body and release it. And it works almost instantly. So I'm going to have that on my website in the next couple of weeks as well, because people have been asking for it all the time. Wherever I give talks, they love it.
Ooh, how awesome. Yes. Okay, definitely. Listeners, we're going to have to tune in to her or go to her website and check that out. And that's holistic.com, right?
Yes. And that's going to be out in the next couple of weeks. I'm just going to record it. I mean, if they go on my Facebook page, it's under one of the videos. I did it like 7 o'clock in the morning a few years ago. And it's been so successful that I've decided to record it and just have it on my website. So that
I love it.
Thank you.
Well, and when you talk about emotions and sort of with anxiety facing them, I instantly thought about something you said at the very beginning of the show. You were talking about loud messages coming. The messages just get louder. If you don't deal with them, they just keep coming back louder and bigger. And that's kind of how anxiety is. Like, we're nervous about something, but if we keep pushing it down and we keep avoiding it, the anxiety gets bigger and louder and bigger and louder until we face it or deal with it. So I would say what a great connection to tie this all in from beginning to end of your segment here. So Elena, thank you so much for joining us on the Dr. Jaime Show. It was such a pleasure having you today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And I wish everyone to stay open and in their love and really love yourselves.
And one more time for the listeners, if they want to find out everything about you, your book, the chakras, the services you offer, where can they go?
Holistic.com, WHOLISTIC.
Excellent. Holistic.com, Elena. Thank you. And listeners, have a wonderful day. And remember, face your emotions, see them as a gift, deal with them, and live an amazing life. Dr. Jaime here, and this episode is sponsored to you by Academic Alliance in Dermatology. Let me tell you, these people can be trusted when it comes to your skin. They are privately and locally owned, and they're celebrating 30 years in business. They have 17 locations through Tampa Bay, and they can take care of all your skin needs. They work with adults, they work with children, they do most surgeries and aesthetics. You can count on their longevity and experience when it comes to your skin. Do me a favor, visit them at tampadermatology.com. Thank you so much for listening to the Dr. Jaime Show audio experience. I really hope that you enjoyed the tips and advice given on today's segment. Do me a favor and go to iTunes and my YouTube, and please subscribe to that channel. Every subscribe, every like, every follow helps the Dr. Jaime Show grow so that we can bring you the best guest and the best content possible. And of course, as always, if you have any feedback, feel free to leave that as well. Talk to you soon.